This is a scene from Boyertown, just in the background, to kind of show the Boyertown bears. So, animal sculpture has always been a part of humanity. And you're going to see in a moment the very first piece of anthropomorphic sculpture. But animals in art have many different uses. One of the most common is to lend their animal attributes to the area in which they are located. And so we're breaking up this talk into three major categories. The first one is going to be architectural animals, and these are animals that are connected with a building. The final piece will be recycled animals, and the middle piece, you will all be surprised when the middle part comes. So, first, I'm sure everybody recognizes this piece. This is the pagoda in Mount Penn on top of Reading, overlooking. And is anyone here familiar with the history of this building? Okay, slightly, like, what are the few key pieces that you know?
I think it was set up as a hotel.
Yes. And why did it fail as a hotel?
They couldn't figure out how to
No, because they couldn't obtain a liquor license.
right.
That was the only reason. So this was built in 1908, and it was supposed to be this major tourist destination, a hotel and restaurant.
They did a feature on the Travel Channel about it one time.
Yes.
I saw it about 6 or 7 years ago. Pretty good.
It was good.
I thought so.
I always wonder how our pagoda fits into the grander scheme of how pagodas work. Now, from an image, there is one piece that you could always recognize the Reading Pagoda, because it is the only pagoda in the world that has a rectangular chimney. Now, it is one of the few in the world that actually has a chimney. But the fact that it's rectangular, that's how you can always tell that this is the Reading Pagoda. So, what I wanted to highlight are some of the animals that are actually on the pagoda. The first one up top is actually carp. And you can see in the image on the far side that there are two carp that are flanking this pole. Now, the pole on top is called the Axis Mundi, which is known as the center of the world. And that it's being flanked by these two carp means that this building is wishing the world luck, prosperity, health, happiness. Also, the carp are to protect the building from fire in a spiritual manner. And if you look at this very lovely digital image of carp swimming, you can kind of see how the tail fin and the tail fan not only evoke this V shape in the carp's tail, but it also gives a bit of movement as it looks like the fin is actually flipping in the air. Also, the carp has these whiskers, which make it look like a lion, and of course that is a reference to the little catfish. Now, those fish are extremely difficult to see, and even harder to get pictures of. But one of the elements that I absolutely love are the lions. And you saw it in the first picture, and you can see that at the top of every gable is a lion. There are lions on 4 sides and on every level. And why lions? Lions are something that we are going to talk about in 2 distinct cultural references. First is going to be the lion in Asia. So lions and humans actually did coexist. They coexisted in caves, and this is from the caves of Lascaux, which I showed you in the last one, the last discussion about murals. And as you can see, these lions in profile were drawn by hand using charcoal. Now, the sculpture is what I referred to as people and animals have always coexisted, and people have always been interested in the power of animals. And that sculpture right there is the oldest known piece of art. And it is called the Lowenmensch. Anybody's German up to snuff to know what that means?
A lion man?
That is correct. Even though, ironically, the lion depicted is a female lion. And we can tell that by the amount of fur that is around the neck. So the Lowenmensch actually represents a human with a lion head on top. It is a mask. We believe it is shamanistic. But this shows that lions and people are extremely interconnected. One of the more interesting maps that I want you to turn your attention on, just so that you have a little bit of a visualization for the next pieces that I'll be discussing, is this is the European cave lion. And it did have a range from Spain all the way across the Americas. Mostly during the ancient periods, they were found Spain, southern France, Greece, and these lions actually coexisted with people. And so when we see ancient art with these lions, even though today there are no lion prides that travel Europe, at the time there actually were. And so that's what makes lions and humans such an interesting commingled discussion because of their different types of meaning. So for European lions, we are most familiar with these on the right. We have the lions of the New York Public Library. This is actually an Egyptian lion in Rome. This gentleman right here, just as an aside, this is my advisor, Brian, whose memory will be preserved in our library because he was an amazing scholar, and one of his favorite things was the connection between lions and people. So I love this. But anyway, lions more abstractly, you'll see at the Palmer Museum of Art in State College, where we don't have the actual lions there, but we have the lion paws. So I know, it's amazing. And I can tell you from experience, they do get very hot in the summer. So if you're going to take pictures, don't sit on them because it makes for a very uncomfortable picture.
Is that on Penn State's main campus?
Yes, it is. This is the Palmer Museum of Art. Now, the museum is being moved and a new facility is being built in the Arboretum. So I do not know what is going to happen to these paws. I would hope and imagine that they'll be reinstated, but my crystal ball is a little cloudy. So this is the lion capital of Ashoka, and this piece is from India. And what I want to draw your attention to is the functional difference between these two types of lions. The Ashoka's lions are pointing in the 4 cardinal directions, and underneath them you see a secondary animal. And this secondary animal also lends its attributes to the direction that it is going. And so you have the lion as a guardian, protector, and boundary of the empire while they move forward and they help to project through their roars, hence the open mouths, all of the other attributes that are, the ox, the elephant, the eagle, that is found down below. And this 4 corners lion is what we see on the pagoda. Each of the 4 corners has a lion, and the point of those lions is to protect the building and, by extension, the city of Reading from any badness, from any, malfeasance, from just anything that the lions can protect. So where did these lions come from? Ironically, you rarely see them on the buildings themselves. This is something kind of unique to our pagoda. Where the lions should actually be is flanking the shrine. And the official name for these, I'm sure you know them as foo dogs, possibly, but they are actually called Koma Inu. Inu means dog, Koma means from somewhere else, foreigner, and so that's why you sometimes see them referred to as Chinese foo dogs, because Koma just means foreign, and because it was the Chinese who introduced this art style to Japan, it's the foreigners' dogs. What's interesting is that they come in a pair. This is the lion, which is also known as the shishi. And technically, the Koma Inu is the one on the left, which is called the lion dog. Usually the lion dog has the mouth shut. The shishi or the lion has the mouth open. Now, because I was trying to take pictures from far away, I cannot tell whether all the mouths are open or closed. My assumption and hope is that on each of the corners, one mouth will be open all along the side and one will be shut all along the side. And we continue that all around the geometry of the building so that spiritually it is a safe, secure location. Now, another type of animal that we're going to kind of come back to, lions are not the only shrine guardians. They also have foxes. And foxes are very common shrine guardians because they are the avatar or kami of the main sun deity, who is the deity of the emperor's family. But we will come back to the Inu. So I wanted to give you a close-up. You can see that on each one of these eaves, there is this lion medallion. This one does have its mouth open, so it is technically a shishi or a lion. However, it is extremely rare to not have the pair of lions because more recently they have been likened to yin and yang, male and female. You need this sense of balance. And so to put a decoration on a building that is perfect, that is accidentally unbalanced or askew, would be absolutely unthinkable. And so I would hope that during the restoration, all of these lions have been properly checked to make sure if they are open or not. So this, on the other hand, is the modern interpretation of the European lion tradition. So Ashoka's column showed the lions on the 4 cardinal directions, and then they spread out. That is based on the Asian tradition of lions as throwing their power out into the winds to protect. European lions, on the other hand, were meant to glorify an individual or a family rather than protecting and glorifying a community. And so that's why European entry guards are this signature lion looking forward. The ones over that we see here in Boyertown at the Visitor Center, they are holding heraldic shields, and they have the paw on top of the shield to help reinforce the idea that this is for one family only, and we are the guardians of that family. So entryway guardians, as you can see, come in a few different styles. We have the lions, the dogs, eagles I have never seen before, and I could not find a single representation in any other art of them. They are a uniquely American invention. And I can understand why, because as an American, the bald eagle is very powerful. However, I find it very odd the fact that they, like the dogs and the lions, which you would normally see on the ground, they're also perched like that, which I don't think I connect with bald eagles. Yes?
Wasn't there at least 3 major royal families in Europe that used the eagles in their family crest, though?
Yes, you are correct. That in terms of heraldry, there are traditional symbols such as the eagle, the lion, the leopard. But I'm talking in terms of monumental sculpture entryway, because you were correct. The German, with the 2-headed eagle.
Hohenzollern.
Yep, exactly.
Habsburg and Romanov, I think.
Yes. But those are heraldic symbols that you would only see placed up on a wall, and their shields and crests, as opposed to these that are physical sculptures of representing a live animal there. And that is something that, I mean, you see eagles on top of buildings because birds fly. But for some reason, these eagles are flanking, which again, great. I am all for, new expressions of art and ideas. So we've talked about our lions and what lions mean. Pardon me? We'll get to him in a moment.
Okay.
Yep. So this is just your compare and contrast of, so if we were in our history 111 or 112, I would say, okay, students, what is the comparison of compare and contrast in the fact that they're both architectural lions, and their purpose is to protect, but the who are they protecting and how are they protecting are very culturally different. And so if you see the pair there, that's your European. The pagoda is your Asian lions. At the Welcoming Center was the only lions that I found in Berks County, which I was very surprised at because I would have thought the court, other libraries, because lions usually guard these big government buildings. But the Welcome Center is worth guarding in Boyertown, and they're very nice people. We went inside because we'll be talking about the bears in a little bit. Dogs. Okay, so the history of dogs as guardians. Now, of course, we are most familiar with this, especially if you have dogs. You know how much they love to intimidate anyone who does or doesn't come onto the property. So we have the greyhounds in Boyertown, but again, they have a long line of artistic tradition as a guardian figure. Now, the two floor mosaics are from Pompeii. This is the very famous Cave Cavum, which means beware of dog. And so the idea of dog as a home guardian has been around for a long time. I liked the one on the top right because it actually showed the architecture and a dog being chained to a window, which again is interesting because they thought that people would come in through windows as well. But if you were wealthy enough to have that many windows, you were wealthy enough to have that many dogs that could guard the windows. Now,
from being a second story man.
No. It gives another meaning to, well, good luck. So one of the differences between dogs and lions is lions always have this kind of regal, brave association. Dogs, on the other hand, are always this precious mix between wild animal and human friend. And this is the crater of Artemis, in which it shows that Artemis, the god, has told her hunting dogs and also the hunting dogs of, get the gentleman's name. It also starts with an A, and it's, I want to say it's Actaeon. Again, something to look up later if you're curious. But this amphora tells of the warning that dogs are wild creatures, and they may or may not always be there to guard us. And so with dogs, it's just a very interesting little subtle nod of their own free will, which is extremely antithetical to me considering lions are actual wild beasts. And you would think that lions would be a lot less reliable than a dog. Now, in terms of a greyhound itself, greyhounds are famous for, of course, their speed. Yes. And so this is showing that this breed of dog can circumambulate the property. Fast, fast, fast. So no matter what you do, you are not going to escape this dog, as opposed to some of the other guard dogs. Or, is anyone familiar with what those are in the corner? They are Cavalier and also Staffordshire dogs. And these are 18th and 19th century pieces in England that people decided to move these dog statues out of the outside and put them on their mantles. And so again, just like the lions, you see a pair and they're facing each other and they are supposed to, like the lions, represent one male, one female. If you look at some of the potteries, they do have slight differences. But yeah, so Staffordshire dogs and other mantle dogs from European pottery started in the front of the house, came inside, which I can also appreciate because I'm sure that these pottery pieces were apt to break. And unfortunately, we are going to see some of that in a little bit. So, besides architectural animals, there are mascots. And this is the newest guardian animal for the United Nations. It is a very particular creature. No, it is not. So this was a gift from the city of Oaxaca to the United Nations in New York City. And what's interesting is that this animal is a mix between our eagle, our lion, and our dog. Now, does anybody
What
know
city was that from again?
Oaxaca,
Where's that at?
Mexico?
Okay.
Does anybody know the name of this creature? It means beautiful guardian in Spanish. It's Alebrije. Anybody familiar with the restaurant that can be found in Berks? Yes, Alebrije means beautiful guardian. And this is an Alebrije. This is a cultural guardian that in South America you will find protecting buildings. But I find it fascinating that it's the guardian creature, but it's this mix of everything that we talked about
I
before.
think there's an Alebrije in life before.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah, I think it has. Yeah, I've seen that. They do pretty good business there.
yeah. If you go down to Disney, there's a Mexican restaurant there that they have. You walk in and it's all different sculptures of Alebrije from all the different areas in Mexico, and
Is
they're all
that Epcot Center?
in that one. But this United Nations piece is specifically made, and if you go, you can read about it. This is made to spread joy and protection to everyone across the world and for global peace. So this creature right here is a global guardian. And it's interesting because it still has the bared teeth, the open eyes, and so it's still this fierce but protective creature that we see in our own county. Mascots. So when people say animal sculptures, this is probably what they're thinking of, mascots. And mascots are really nothing more than a kind of tweaked architectural animal, because instead of being on the building or in front of the building, this animal stands in for either a building, a location, a town, etc. So we are representing here the two mascots from the two Triptych leaders. We have the Kutztown bear named Avalanche, and I've been told that there are multiple bears on campus. Well, okay, according to Laura, who didn't pay attention, and a map, there are two bears. I would like to give credit to my friend Tim, who is now one of the art historians there, and his beautiful crown flower that he did for me, so that I didn't have to drive all the way to Kutztown. Avalanche, as much as we like you, buddy, you really just don't have a lot of information about you. So this is supposed to be a golden bear, which I find ironic because golden bears are native to California, not Pennsylvania. But
Right.
exactly, who knows? I was not asked my opinion when they made this, so But the Nittany Lion, I have more than enough experience with him. So the Nittany Lion, also called the Lion Shrine, was sculpted by an artist named Heinz Warnecke in 1942. And here is one of my favorite images. This is the original Lion Shrine with all of the cubs in 1969. So where did all of these cubs go to?
The branches?
Yes, the Commonwealth campuses. So as you can see from this image, that lion is going to be slightly smaller than the main lion. However, it is a copy. Now, the original lion is that lovely taxidermy job there that is located in the library if you want to scar any of your grandchildren when you go and visit. The last Nittany Lion was found there in 1880. However, when I was there, And shortly after Chesney was born, there was actually a cougar sighting around Toff Trees. So maybe not. Probably not the actual Nittany lion, because that is believed to be an extinct species, but, North American cougars. So unfortunately, fortunately, one of the benefits and detriments of having the Nittany lion is that it is the symbol of Penn State main campus. And currently, this is what it looks like. Both the Lion Shrine and Old Main were vandalized on the 22nd. And so right now, they're in the process of trying to fix the ear that was broken and remove all the paint. But what is interesting is that the Lion Shrine is such an important work of art for Penn State that it actually has multiple 3D models. And I worked on the project that took 3D images around the entire piece in order to rebuild exact replicas. So even though this piece has been defaced, we have literally drawers of ears and noses and tails and feet and everything like that. His left ear was broken a while ago, and now his right ear is broken. But unfortunately, that is one of the problems of having public sculpture in a public place. But hopefully it will get cleaned up soon. And
Do they know who did it?
No, there is there's currently a line open for anyone who has information about it. But which is extremely sad, because a bunch of families were upset because they summer graduation had just happened, and so they wanted to take pictures with the shrine, and now they can't because of the vandalism that occurred. And unfortunately, on main campus, this is the only shrine. You would think at a place so large that they do like Kutztown and have, two. Unfortunately, it is not, and that is our one and only. But our Commonwealth campuses do have the little lion cubs, as they are known, and they are exact replicas of Bradys' work. Now we're getting into the bears. So mascots aren't just for individual buildings or schools or businesses. Entire towns can have them as well. And so we're going to discuss the Boyertown Bears, because those are our bears, but other areas have their own. And in Berks County, they had the Miles of Mules project, which was very similar to the bears, in which they celebrated the mules that helped drag the anthracite coal through all the various canals in that area. And so the mules for them are a very special animal, and so various artists painted them up. Unlike our Boyertown Bears, these mules were sold and dispersed. And so they are not a sculptural community anymore. But I just love the fact that the borough of Doylestown bought the borough of Doylestown. So this is one from when I was working overseas. This chicken is named Brew, and it's from Bourg-en-Bresse. And Bourg-en-Bresse chickens are AOC controlled. They're like Parmesan cheese and Burgundy wine and things like that. You can't actually export these specific chickens unless you are government controlled. And so the breast chickens are wonderful and expensive, and they celebrate them all over this little town. So I have the brew, because this is, of course, the church with which I worked that has the two inside. So this love of large plexi animals is not just a Pennsylvania thing, it is a worldwide phenomenon. This one? So that is Margaret of Burgundy. And her tomb is in here, and her husband is also in there, and her mother-in-law are also in there to be eternally watched over. The mother-in-law actually sits between the husband and wife. It's pretty funny. Yes. The mother-in-law is kind of tilted like that, and she's looking over But anyway, yes. So this represents who's buried inside and the other type of decorations that can be found in the different parts of the community. Which brings us to Boyertown. So the Boyertown Bears, which is part of a specific art group called Bear Fever, is found throughout the town, but the bears are so ingrained in the community that I would say about every fourth or fifth building has a bear. And it's fantastic because you can walk around town and see all these and take pictures with them. And even though not all the bears belong to the Bear Fever, it is still fantastic to see the community rally around their high school. Because I asked the visitor center, why bears? And they said, well, because it's the mascot of the high school. And it's, but it is fantastic that it's something that they've become, so engrossed with. To the point that if you go to the pet shop, he has a bear, but he also has a dragon. Because he thought it would be much more interesting than a bunch of bears. So even the people of Boyertown have specific bear leanings. So the reason why we're not speaking about all the bears is because there are 75 of them. And they no longer reside strictly in Boyertown. They have been encouraged to expand outwards, and so we will see a few of those. What I also love is that you as private individuals can commission snow bears. These are tabletop bears. They're not like that. And this is a plain one to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. But I love the fact that there's still, you too can have your own Boyertown bear. So the ones that we visited are 14, 15, 16, 12, 21, 11, and then after that, we said, that's a lot of bears. And so here are some of their stories. This is Bear Snickle, and this is at Tompkins Bank. And Bear Snickle was decorated to celebrate the Pennsylvania Dutch heritage of the community, and Boyertown was founded in 1866. And so that's why it has the 1866. And it shows various pieces of fracture and a school and a church, which have their Pennsylvania Dutch spellings in order to celebrate the history of the community. What's interesting, as Chesney noticed, is that this bear has lost its eyes, but somebody came in and drew little lashes and eyes, so it has temporary eyes. 95% of these bears are symmetrical, and so if you see what's on one side, you're going to see what's on the other. These are alphabetical, by the way. This is Bearagon. This is at the Community Children's Library. And what I love about these bears is that each one of these patrons chose a very specific theme and story to enliven their community. And unlike a lot of the sculptures that we've seen previously, these were specifically worked on with all ages. They wanted, the program creators wanted the students to write about their experience, to document it, and to make sure that all walks of life could help bring the community together. So the Children's Library is showing how when you read, your imagination takes flight. And these are some stories from Mother Goose to kind of help give those who cannot read the ability to let their imagination fly. And so it's very cute. This is Box. Now, Box is the only bear who stands on one leg, which took the artist quite a few times to get right. And but he is very proud of this, and this is one of the featured bears because of this specific stance design. Now, what makes Box part of the community is that he was created by a former Boyertown High School student who went on to become the coach of Reading High School. And so the bear is in, thanks for all that Boyertown did for him and all the community. And so the number and the name on the back refer to the artist who was one of the football players. This is Bubbles. I like Bubbles. Bubbles was commissioned by a group who who is an environmental group, and they wanted to remind everyone of the beauty of clean water. And technically, his name is Underwater Bubble Bear. And an underwater bubble bear is a magical creature who goes through clean water and helps bring to life all the fish with its little rock up top. And so this was done by a children's illustrator, which is a very different style than what we've seen previously. And I just like his little grin. He reminds me of Baloo from Jungle. Now, this is one of the Boyertown bears that isn't in Boyertown. Laura, can you tell me where this bear is?
At a dentist office.
And where is that dentist office?
I'm guessing West Reading.
It is in West Reading. So yes, West Reading has 2 frogs and a bear. So Cheryl DDS, Dr. Cheryl was a Boyertown grad, and she wanted to celebrate her hometown of Boyertown in West Reading and kind of help bring the Boyertown Bears experience out of the Boyertown area itself. And so, according to Dr. Cheryl, this is reminiscent of her own lab coat and her own stuff that she would wear. So this is a bear portrait of sorts. And this is Grabare. Grabare is as you can see, this is the main mascot with their website, bearfever.org. And this is one of the few bears that is not the same on either side. This is an asymmetrical bear. But what I love about Grabare is that his patron was the auto body shop. And so they did all the lettering and all the shellac to show how well their techniques and their products, and so that's what the little gold is on the foot. It's to direct you to their auto body shop in order to have your own shiny custom work. This is Townie, and Townie was done by the students of the school who did the project to learn more about the history of Boyertown. And they have the railroad tracks along the bottom. They have an opera fire right here and a couple of the iconic buildings of the town. This one was, as you can tell, very difficult to photograph just because of its neutral color palette. But he's still fun.
How many are at the twin turrets? That's
2. 2. And the first image that you saw was that span that had bubbles and everything there. So yes, they have a few. Which brings us to our frogs in West Reading. So what's interesting is there is absolutely zero about these frogs. I was able to find that 4 of them were created for the 15th anniversary of Art on the Avenue in West Reading, and that's it. All of the archived newspapers are no longer available, and the Reading Eagle didn't have their continued articles about these when they came out. So all that I can tell you is stuff that I'm sure you all know as well. There used to be 4, there's now 2. 1 has a broken arm and is going to be taken down. This is the one in front of Aladdin, as you can see. And unfortunately, just like our Nittany Lion friend, this is kind of what happens when you have public sculpture. But as long as he's there, we can still all enjoy him. I wish there was more, because in this, in the green and blue frog, you can see in its eye that it has a bird and the kind of bird beak and the bird feet. And so I don't know if it's trying to be a bird. Was the bird a theme of Art on the Avenue? Does Art on the Avenue even have themes? Okay, no, I don't think so. So I just wish that there was a longer lasting legacy for these pieces. But, that's part of the joy of public art. There was one in Baldwin brass. They're the only 2 that remain, according to Art on the Avenue. Searched and contacted the Reading Eagle, and they had no archive information about these pieces. And Art on the Avenue, of course, has changed hands since that time, and none of their period magazines had anything about it. And so this is going to become one of our town's urban legends because it is up to us to remember why there's a frog. And so when this talk happens again in 20 years here, someone will say, so there's a random frog. I wish we had more and I wish we knew more about it, but until then we can just enjoy it. Well, we are going to have to follow up on this because this has become like my Nancy Drew mystery of 2022 that I have to know why this frog has a beak. Is it okay? Is it like a friend? Is it waiting for someone? Like, I have to give this frog a story because, you know, why not?
Celebrated frog of Al Harris. I'm just kidding. That's what it is.
Nope. We don't know the artist. We don't know the jury selection process. We don't know why frogs. Because at least Boyertown Bears make sense. It's their high school mascot. But Frogs of West Reading? The only interesting piece that I was able to find was an opinion from 2010 that was very emphatic that no, frogs are not the mascot of the city of Reading. I mean, someone had a very strong frog opinion. So we're going to end up with my favorite public pieces, which are the recycled animals. And this is in my hometown. This is where Chesney and I live, in the very, very southern tip of Berks County in Morgantown. And this is Bradys' rock shop and art gallery. Mr. Brady is almost a centenarian, and he was my art teacher when I was younger than her. So Mr. Brady is a very, very special person in my life, and these two pieces were done by his two sons. His son Craig is an artist, and he did the eagle out of an old stump of wood, and then the mantis was done by his son Kent. So this piece of wood carving is again our eagle that we saw, but instead of being on the ground and next to the steps, this is where you would expect an eagle to be, up on some sort of plinth. And this eagle is not only protecting Brady's rock shop, but Mr. Brady and his family always decorate because they live across from the township hall, and they are amazingly patriotic. And so for them, the eagle was a sign of not only pride for their country, but pride for the state of Pennsylvania and our role in American history. So for them, the eagle is a very encompassing and also very personal animal. I love it because it used to be bears. It used to be a mother bear and two cubs when I was a kid. And over the years, the stump used to be where the mantis is, and it continued to rot. And so instead of letting his bear sculpture fall to pieces, he recarved it as an eagle and restuck it on something else. So this is a recycled sculpture. Which brings us to finally the one below it, made by his brother, who is a mechanical engineer, and this is Mantis. And Kent liked Mantis because we usually see bugs. It's very, very small, and they're easy to overlook. And so by making a monumental sculpture, he was not only able to celebrate the natural diversity in our area and bring to light another animal that we rarely see in a monumental scale, but he used his engineering skills and his welding to recycle pieces such as the truck spring and things like that. And,
Really smart.
oh, it is beautiful. At Christmas time, it gets a hat and lights and everything. And at Halloween, it dresses up as something else. And it's an amazing sculpture. And I'm going to leave you with one that is technically in Chester County because it's in Elverson, but I love this. It is a metal dinosaur on the back of a pickup truck. And every time we pass him, it just makes us smile because not all animals have to exist in the world in order to bring us joy. It is impressive how dilapidated this truck is. I wanted to leave you with this unnamed dinosaur that Chesney and I love and we wave to every single day. And I hope if you come down to our neck of the woods that you can wave and say hello to the mantis and the eagle and the dino as well. And I thank you so much for coming. I thank you for your participation. I can't wait to speak with you all again. And I hope you all enjoyed the 3-part series of public art in our county. Thank you.